Hi everyone, my name is Sam Bark and I am a cartographer at Esri UK. And today in this box set video, we're going to be talking about Snazzy maps in the new map viewer in ArcGIS Online and Enterprise. So today's session is pretty much going to be focusing on some of the cool features and nice visualizations that you can do in the new map viewer, and hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. So I'm actually just going to dive straight into a demo. So just to give you a quick introduction first, this is the new map viewer. This has just come out of beta in ArcGIS Online. I think soon in Enterprise it's coming out of beta as well. And this, is essentially going to be moving forward the default map viewer. So Map Viewer Classic, the one we're familiar with, has been renamed to Map Viewer Classic. And then moving forward, development will be focused on this map viewer. And what I'm going to show you today is a couple of visualizations, some features, and really focus on the power of this map viewer and kind of show you what it's about, what things you can do within it. So the first thing to talk about is the fact that it's been built with JavaScript 4. And what that means is behind the scenes, there's a lot more customization and power to create different types of visualizations. And one of the best ways to explain that is by creating one of the new visuals, which is a dot density. So we've seen dot density before in ArcGIS Pro, but we've never had the ability to use it in ArcGIS Online or Enterprise. So I thought that would be a good way of explaining. So if I just play this data set here, you'll see that the dot density is now actually drawing for each layer. It's actually drawing in time with the time enabled element. So that's, thousands of points, as you can see, quickly drawing in half a second. And that element is because of the JavaScript 4 that it's being built with. That does open up the option to kind of draw quite complex layers in quite a quick time. So that's something we've never really had the luxury of within ArcGIS Online. But now, with this JavaScript 4 element, it kind of shows the power of what we can do in the new map viewer. So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of other visuals as well, using a variety of different data sets from the Living Atlas. So the next one I want to talk about, I'm just going to zoom out on the UK. And this data set I'm going to show you now is ONS's UK population estimates. And basically it's looking at different age categories across the country. So the visualization that I've used here is something called a predominant category. So this essentially looks at the populations for each of the upper tier local authorities, and then it works out, which age category, which age band has the highest population within it. So you can see this kind of green cluster in the south of England. That actually represents the age category 50 to 54, which is the predominant age for all of those areas. And then you'll see the strength of predominance is the transparency of that layer. So what I love about this map is it's so quick and easy to identify pockets and patterns of the data where, I'm looking at this map, immediately I'm seeing, patches of green. That tells me exactly what I need to know about the age distribution in the area. So this is a really good way of exploring your data in a very simple and digestible way. The next data set I want to show you is often when we've got two different sort of contrasting data sets, it's quite difficult to put them onto the same map. So what I've done here is I've created a bivariate choropleth map using data from its income data and happiness data. So I kind of wanted to answer the age-old question, does money cause happiness? And I thought this is the best way to showcase this through a bivariate choropleth. So to walk you through on the left-hand side, this legend. So the brown areas basically mean that there is high happiness and high income. So you can see there's patches of brown here and further north. And if we look at the orange, for example, that means it's a low score on the happiness index, but actually there's a high income. So you can see places like London pretty dominant in the orange color. Finally, if you look at the blue area, this means there's high happiness, but actually a low income value. So you can see, predominantly Wales has a high number of blue local authorities and a couple of places further north. So what I love about this style of visualization is that these two data sets are quite difficult to piece together, and you want to find the relationship between them. And a bivariate choropleth is the perfect way to kind of pitch that into a single output and a single choropleth essentially. So I would definitely recommend playing around with this style. There's a lot of different customizations that you can do with the colors as well, which is really brings it to life. I just want to draw your attention quickly to the layer list. And the new feature that has just been introduced is the ability to create groups for your layers, which means that you can now organize a variety of different layers into certain groups and keep things a lot more tidy and organized, which I know has been a long awaited feature for ArcGIS Online users. So the next data set that we're going to look at is from the British Geological Survey, and it's their earthquake data for the UK, available in the Living Atlas. This dataset has the points on the map which represent earthquakes, and behind each point we have the information for the depth, the field, and the location, which makes it a really good example to use for this next visualization style. This style is called Above and Below, and it's recently been added to Map Viewer. To get this, we're going to focus on the field of magnitude. So I really want to look at the different sizes of earthquakes across the country. And we're going to use the color and size option. So you'll see there's an option to choose a theme. So what I want to select here is above and below theme, which is going to allow me to show the data above and below a certain value, either 0 or the average, for example. So if I select that and then go into style options, you'll see at the moment, and if you look at the legend, any earthquake with a magnitude of over 0.39 is then drawn in blue. So what I'm going to do is change that to a 3. So I want anything over a magnitude of 3, a fairly large earthquake. I want to be able to quickly identify them on the map. So I've changed that on the symbols on the legend here. And if I go to the symbol pair, you'll see the different options that I've got to choose from in terms of the visuals, in terms of the icon. So I want circles with chevrons, and that draws a nice circle behind it as well. And finally, when I'm choosing my color, if I just select the symbol style option here, you'll see I've got tons of different colors that I can choose from. And perhaps that's a little overwhelming. I don't really know where to go with it. So if I just click this drop down here, it gives me a couple of options. If I've got a light background, a dark background, I can choose the best color palette based upon the map that I'm looking at. And one of the really nice things for accessibility is to have this colorblind friendly option at the bottom. So I can now choose some of the colorblind friendly color palettes, which is, again, a really powerful part of the ArcGIS system. I've chosen my colors and I'm happy with how that's looking. So I'm just going to hit done. So I'm just going to move on to pop-ups now. So I think we're all familiar with designing and configuring pop-ups, particularly, if you've used the Map Viewer Classic. So this isn't anything new, but I think it's the way that you design and configure your pop-ups that is something new and is probably one of the more powerful parts of the Map Viewer. So as you can see here, I've got a pretty default pop-up. I can't see too much information from that. But actually, if I just select the layer below and turn this on, you can see I've pre-configured a pop-up here that has a nice sort of introductory sentence and then a nice tidier table that sits beneath it. So that pop-up looks great. And if I jump into the fields list here and select fields, you'll see when I start toggling different layers on my table, they automatically appear. So I can design my pop-up with the final product in sight, so I don't need to keep saving, going back to the map, reviewing it. The whole process is a lot more efficient and a lot easier to use now. And further to this, you'll spot that my date field doesn't read too well here. So if I jump into the configure fields option here and go to year, I can then change that date format to just display the year, and you can see that's already updated in my pop-up. So that's just super simple, and I can see the final product before I've even hit done. That's how easy it is. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is the configure charts element. So charts are new to Map Viewer, and this is something that's quite exciting to use because we've probably been fairly familiar with charts in desktop, so in Pro, but actually the fact that they're in online now means we can really explore our data on another level. So Earlier, I was just exploring the relationship and to see if there was a relationship between magnitude and depth on my earthquake data. So, I don't necessarily know if there is, but I just thought I'd plot it on a scatter plot chart. And you can see here, there's a couple of points that sit in the top right-hand corner that perhaps I just want to explore a little bit further. Is there a pattern spatially where they sit, or are they unrelated to each other? So by selecting them on the chart, that then selects on my map as well. But as you can see, I can't really see my map. So one of the new buttons that has just been introduced is this hide interface option here. So I can select that, and it gets rid of all the side panels, and I can just really focus on my map. I can see a couple of blue points that sit here. I can then run some analysis on what kind of patterns have emerged, and when I'm finished, I can hit the show interface, and it brings all my sidecars back up again. So that level of customization is something we've not really had before in Map Viewer. And similarly, if I want to make my chart full screen, or if I just want to pull it down to the bottom and have sort of a best of both there, I can do that. So customization on the new map viewer is amazing. You can do so much with it, and I think as there will be more development and more releases on it, I think the customization is only going to get stronger and give you more flexibility with that. So I'm just going to jump back to my slides here just to finally touch on one last thing. So I think we're all fairly familiar when we click the map tab at the top of our ArcGIS Online or Enterprise, it takes us to the map viewer classic, which is, what we've been used to for many years, where now you can actually go into your organization settings and change the default map viewer that loads. So the primary map viewer, as you can see from this screenshot, I've selected the new map viewer. And that means that anytime I open a web map or click that map tab at the top, it will load in the new map viewer. So I would recommend doing this, and it just gives you a chance to start playing around with the features and just getting familiar with the new layout and some of the benefits of it. So thanks so much for listening today. Hopefully you've learned a couple of things about Map Viewer, and I hope to encourage you to go away, start playing around with some of the features, and get your hands on it. So thank you very much.